Hi students, in this video lecture we are going to talk about the phylum Chordata, which is the phylum that we are in, as well as many of the larger animals that you know. In this phylum we continue to see development of the systems, development of the nervous system towards the head, that idea of cephalization. These chordates have a closed circulatory system, right, that we first observed in the phylum Annelida. They're segmented. The segmentation continues to be visible. The respiratory system becomes more developed, and then some forming actual lungs. And then in addition to that, the digestive system, which is a complete digestive system that was first seen in the phylum Nematodes, the roundworms, continues to be specialized. And again, this idea of a complete digestive tract with both a mouth and an anus versus just one opening allows there to be specialized organs for digestion and more absorption of nutrients, which supports a more complex organism. All right, the four characteristics of the phylum Chordata, meaning the four characteristics that they all share, are that they have this notochord, and in this picture here, you see this blue notochord, and it's on the dorsal, meaning the back side of the organism, and it's like a supporting rod. In vertebrates are a type of chordates that have a backbone and vertebrate bones. The vertebrate replaces this notochord. So some chordates don't have a vertebrate backbone, such as these lancelets and sea squirts. On top of that notochord is the dorsal nerve cord. Sometimes it's called the dorsal hollow nerve cord. And this is protected by the vertebrate, and this is what in us is our spinal cord. Okay, the nervous system kind of is what creates it. In addition, chordates all have these pharyngeal slits or pouches. In aquatic organisms, they become gills, and in terrestrial, like us, they become, in some organisms, they become partial jaws, they become abundant thing. But we all have them in embryonic development, which again is support that we were all derived from a common ancestor. In addition, all chordates have this post-anal tail, meaning the anus, the second opening of the digestive tract, is here, and this tail extends beyond it. We have this as well in embryonic development, and then it retracts as we develop further. Okay, so evidence that chordates all derive from a common ancestor can be found at the stages of embryonic development. So if you look at these images, what they're trying to show you is regardless of the organism, whether it be a fish, a reptile, bird, human, during embryonic development, we share these chordate characteristics. The gill slits, pharyngeal slits, right? All of them have it. The post-anal tail, right, is all there. There's also the notochord, right, and the dorsal hollow nerve tube. So we all share these characteristics. Here's a real picture of a fish embryo, and this is a human embryo, and it's showing the segmentations. I'm blocking the post-anal tail, the pharyngeal pouches, right? So we all come from the same genetic material, and then mutations, different changes have created the diversity we see today, where each species is adapted to its unique environment. So a little bit about the vertebrates, which again are a type of chordate that have the backbone, right? The notochord is in vertebrates becomes these vertebrate backbone components. So they have a vertebrate column, which replaces that embryonic notochord. This is, again, showing segmentation. Vertebrates have skulls now to protect the brain, because we've seen that cephalization, that nervous system being drawn to the anterior, the head portion, in such a complex manner that it also evolved a way to protect it. And this is the part of the nervous system where processing occurs. And all vertebrates have an endoskeleton. Your skeleton actually grows with you. It protects your internal organs, and it also is a place where your muscles attach to, so when your muscles contract, they move skeletal parts. Vertebrates have a large coelom, that body cavity that evolved with the 3 tissue layers in animal development. They have a closed circulatory system. The respiratory system in some organisms consists of gills and others of lungs, and they continue that cephalization. They also have kidneys to release the waste from the circulatory system. All right, the chordates include the fishes, of which there's approximately 28,000 species. These are the largest group of vertebrate animals. There are very primitive jawless fish that still exist today. Here's a hagfish. That's a picture of one. They still exist today. The first jawed vertebrates, the jaws are the agnathans. They evolved from, the jaw evolved from the gill slits, or the gill arches closest to the anterior region. Fish were the first jawed vertebrates. There's the cartilaginous fish, like the sharks, and then the bony skeleton evolved and the bony fish. Then the vertebrate organisms went to land, right, from water to land. And so we see these organisms that still exist today that are the link between the fish that were fully dependent on the water and then land animals. So metamorphosis is a big reason that these organisms could kind of transition to land, because they had their aquatic portion in development and then they developed onto land. They have to lay their eggs in the water, and so that's why they hatch in the water, because they don't have that way of protecting the eggs until the development of the egg shell, etc. Then reptiles evolved from the amphibians. The scales prevented water loss. Again, similar to how we saw the plants adapt to life on land, animals had to adapt to life on land. Eggs were covered by a shell, so now we don't need these amphibians that have their initial life portion, the metamorphosis, in the water where the egg is protected. Now these organisms can be fully independent of the water for their life cycle. Embryos develop with an amniotic sac, right, and that nourishes the yolk, and they're ectotherms, meaning initially their metabolism is dependent on external temperature. Birds evolved from dinosaurs, which were a type of reptile. The feathers evolved from the scales. They're modified scales, actually, and they're endotherms like us, right? Our internal body temperature stays at 98.6 degrees, independent of what the temperature is outside. That's how endotherms work. And lastly, the mammals evolved from the reptiles. So what distinguishes mammals is that most are born rather than being hatched in an egg. They're nurtured for a longer period of time inside the mother in an organ called placenta. A lot of them have hair and mammary glands, where they then nurse the young.